The stars were endless, but the refugees felt trapped in the darkest cage of space. Their ship drifted through silence. No light inside, no warmth, only the sound of weak engines trying to keep life alive. Inside, hundreds of alien refugees sat in the dark. They were families, mothers, fathers, children, elders. Their faces showed fear and hunger. Their homeworld was gone, burned in war. They had searched for help across the galaxy, but every door closed. Food had run out weeks ago. The little children cried for water. The elders lay on the floor, too weak to stand. The ship's leader, a tall alien with tired eyes, stood near the control deck. His name was Sarvan. Once he had been a proud scholar. Now he was just the voice of the desperate. "Another planet," he whispered, staring at the dim screen. "Maybe this one will answer." The crew sent out another distress signal. They waited. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, a reply came through, harsh and cold. "Denied. You are not welcome. Leave our space." Sarvan closed his eyes. He had heard those words too many times. Not welcome. Always the same. Always rejection. The children stared at him, hoping for good news. He did not have the heart to tell them the truth. Instead, he smiled weakly and said, "We will try again." The ship jumped to another system. Again, they sent out their signal. Again, the answer came, "Rejection. You carry disease. You are criminals. You bring shame." Every world gave a new excuse, but the meaning was always the same: go away. Die in the dark. One mother, holding her thin child, whispered, "Why does no one want us?" Her voice cracked. "Are we not people too?" Sarvan wanted to answer, but his throat was dry. What could he say? The galaxy had already judged them worthless. Days passed. Hope was slipping away. The air recycler grew weaker, the lights dimmed, and silence filled the halls. Refugees stopped talking. They just stared at the floor, waiting for the end. But Sarvan refused to give up. Standing at the front of the ship, he whispered, "There must be someone out there. Someone who will hear us." He sent one last signal into the void. A message carried on weak radio waves. "We are refugees. We need help. Please. Anyone." For hours there was nothing. Only static. The crew lowered their heads. It was the end. Then something different. A voice broke through the static. "This is human patrol vessel Aurora. We hear you. Identify yourselves." The words echoed through the refugee ship. Every head lifted. Every heart stopped. They had been ignored for so long that the sound of an answer felt unreal. "Humans," Sarvan whispered. He had heard of them. Strange species, small in number compared to great empires. Some said they were too young to matter. Others said they were dangerous, unpredictable. The refugees looked at him, waiting for his choice. Should he reply? What if the humans were like the others? What if this was just another cruel rejection? Sarvan pressed the comm button with trembling hands. His voice cracked as he said, "We are survivors. We have no home. We beg for help." The line went quiet. Seconds stretched forever. Children clung to their mothers. Elders held their breath. Finally, the human voice returned, calm, strong, different. "Stay calm. We are locking onto your signal. We are sending supplies." The refugees gasped. Supplies? No one had ever offered food before. No one had ever offered medicine. Sarvan stared at the comm screen. For the first time in months, his heart beat faster with hope. Could it be real? The ship shook gently as small pods docked against their hull. The doors opened and inside were packages: food, water, medical kits. Humans had sent them. Children rushed forward crying with joy as they tasted fresh water for the first time in weeks. Mothers wept openly, hugging their children. Elders whispered prayers. But even in that moment of relief, fear still lived inside them. What if this was only temporary? What if the humans changed their minds? Sarvan looked at the stars outside the window. He whispered to himself, "Do they really mean to help us? Or will they cast us away like the others?" The answer would come soon, because the humans were calling again. "Refugee vessel, prepare yourselves. You are not alone anymore." The words carried both promise and mystery. Were these humans truly different? Or was this another cruel trick of the galaxy? The refugees held their breath. Hope was a dangerous thing, but it was the only thing they had left. And in the cold galaxy, hope had just returned, carried by a human voice. The refugee ship floated weakly in the shadow of a blue star. Inside, silence had turned into whispers of hope. For the first time in months, they had eaten real food. For the first time in years, someone had answered their cry. The name still echoed in their minds. Humanity. On the comm screen, the human captain's face appeared. He was not tall, not glowing with alien power, not dressed like the rulers of the galaxy. He looked ordinary compared to the mighty species that had rejected them. But his eyes were sharp, and his voice carried something the refugees had never heard before: calm respect. "This is Captain Reyes of the patrol vessel Aurora," he said. "We've given you emergency rations, but we need to know, who are you? Where did you come from?" Sarvan stood before the screen. His hands shook. He bowed his head slightly before speaking. "We are the Rithan people. Once we had a homeworld, now it is ash. We searched for shelter. Every empire closed its gates. They told us we were worthless. We are only families now, drifting, waiting for an end." The human captain did not interrupt. He listened. That alone shocked Sarvan. No one had ever cared to hear their story. When Sarvan finished, silence followed. Refugees in the background leaned closer, holding their breath. Finally, Captain Reyes spoke. "Your ship is breaking down. You cannot survive much longer. We can tow you to our nearest outpost. There our council will decide." The word decide froze the refugees. Council. Decision. That was how it always began. And always the answer was rejection. A mother whispered, "They will send us away." Like the others, one elder groaned, "No. The humans are only delaying our death." Sarvan's chest tightened. He wanted to believe otherwise, but he could not lie to them again. Yet, the humans had already done more than any empire. They had given food. They had given water. That alone made them different. Sarvan bowed his head. "We accept. We have no other choice." The human ship moved closer. Machines locked onto the refugee vessel, guiding it through space. For hours, the Rithan drifted beside humans, unsure if they were prisoners or guests. Children pressed their faces to the windows, staring at the human ship. It was smaller than the war cruisers of the great empires, but it looked solid, reliable. Its lights glowed warmly, like stars against the black. Inside the refugee halls, quiet arguments began. "They will test us. They will find a reason to reject us. No, maybe they are different. Maybe they really mean it. Do not trust too fast. Hope is dangerous." Even Sarvan did not know what to believe. Then, something unexpected happened. A small human shuttle separated from the patrol vessel and docked with their refugee ship. The airlock opened. Refugees held their breath as the first humans stepped inside. They were wearing light armor, but their helmets were open. Their faces were uncovered. One of them, a young woman with dark hair, smiled softly at the refugees. She held a container in her hands. She knelt and offered it to the nearest child. Inside were pieces of bread. The child's mother gasped. She tried to pull him back, afraid it was a trick. But the little boy reached forward with trembling fingers. He took a bite. His eyes widened. Tears rolled down his cheeks. "It's food," he whispered. The human woman nodded. "Real food. More is coming." The hall erupted. Mothers cried openly. Elders reached out weak hands to touch the humans. Children laughed for the first time in months. Sarvan felt his throat tighten. No empire had ever sent food. No empire had ever sent kindness. Only humans. Still, doubt whispered in his mind. Why? Why would they care? Later, Sarvan was brought into a private chamber to speak directly with Captain Reyes again. The human captain studied him carefully. "You must understand," Reyes said. "Some of my own people are cautious. They fear you may bring danger, disease, or enemies." Sarvan nodded. He understood too well. "We have been accused of such things many times. Always lies, always excuses to push us away. But I swear, Captain, we only want to live. We are not warriors. We are not conquerors. We are only families." The human captain leaned back in his chair. His eyes narrowed slightly, but not with anger, only thought. "Families." He repeated. "I see." He tapped his console. "Then we will bring you to Earth orbit. Our council will speak, but I promise you this, you will not be abandoned in the dark." Sarvan's heart pounded. Earth, the human homeworld. Could it truly be possible? When he returned to his people, he shared the news. Cheers mixed with fear. Some cried with joy, others with doubt. "They will decide again," one elder muttered, "and their decision will be no." But the children only smiled, still tasting bread. As the ships moved together through space, One thing became clear: the galaxy had rejected them. But the humans had not. Not yet. And in that fragile space between fear and hope, a new question began to burn in every heart. Would the humans keep their promise? Or would they be cast out once more? The journey to Earth took days. For the refugees, each moment was filled with both hope and fear. They had tasted food, they had met humans, but they still did not know if this kindness would last. Children pressed their faces to the windows as the blue planet grew larger. Oceans shimmered like jewels, clouds drifted across green lands, and sunlight lit the curve of the world. "Is that real?" one child asked. He had only known the black void of space. "Yes," Sarvan whispered, though his own voice shook. "That is a living world." The refugee ship was guided into Earth's orbit. Dozens of human ships surrounded them, not with weapons drawn, but with careful order. Inside the refugee halls, whispers filled the air. "They will not let us land. They only want to question us. They will turn us away like all the others." But when the comm screen lit up again, Captain Reyes appeared. His tone was calm, steady. "You are safe. We will bring representatives from our council to speak with you. Until then, you are under human protection." The words "under human protection" spread quickly. Some felt relief, others fear. Protection often meant chains. Soon shuttles arrived. Human doctors entered first, carrying scanners and medical kits. They did not demand blood or proof. They simply knelt beside the weak, checking pulses, giving injections, and handing out clean blankets. One old Rithan woman, too weak to move, clutched a doctor's hand. Why do you care?" she whispered. The human doctor smiled softly. "Because you are alive. That is reason enough." Tears slid down the woman's face. No empire had ever said such words. Next came the human children. They were brought to the station where refugee families waited. At first, the Rithan children hid behind their mothers. They had been called monsters by other races. They feared rejection again, but the human children only smiled. One little girl reached into her pocket and pulled out a shiny red apple. She offered it to a thin Rithan boy. He hesitated. His mother shook her head, worried it was a trick. But the human girl pushed it closer with a grin. Slowly, the boy took it. He bit into the fruit. Sweet juice ran down his chin. His eyes widened with shock and joy. The human children laughed, and soon the Rithan boy laughed too. That small act broke the wall of fear. Soon the children were playing together. They did not speak the same words, but they understood smiles, laughter, and games. Sarvan watched in silence, his chest heavy. If the galaxy's rulers could see this moment, would they still call his people worthless? But hope was fragile. Later that day, Sarvan was called to a meeting with human counselors. He entered a chamber where Earth's leaders appeared on screens. Their faces were serious. One counselor leaned forward. "We have read your report, Captain Reyes, but this is not a simple matter. If we shelter these people, enemies may follow." Another voice said, "Resources are limited. Our colonies already struggle. Bringing in thousands of outsiders may cause unrest." Sarvan stood at the center. Every word cut him, but he had heard worse before. He bowed his head. "We ask only for a place to live, a small place. We will work. We will build. We do not beg for power, only survival," the counselors murmured. Some looked doubtful. One asked sharply, "Why were you rejected by every empire? What are you hiding?" Sarvan raised his eyes, voice shaking with both anger and pain. "We are hiding nothing. We are guilty of nothing. We were rejected because we are weak, because we had no armies, because we could not pay tribute. That is all." Silence filled the chamber. Then Captain Reyes spoke firmly. "They are families. I saw their children. I saw their suffering. If humanity claims to be better, then this is our test. Do we turn them away, or do we stand for something greater?" The council did not answer immediately. The decision was delayed. Sarvan returned to his people with no clear news. Some fell into despair again. "It is the same," they said. "They will reject us, just like before," but others whispered differently. "The humans are not like the others. They listened. They fed us. Maybe." That night, Sarvan stood at the window of the refugee ship. Earth glowed below, blue and alive. His people slept behind him, fragile as candles in the wind. And then, an alarm rang through the ship. Red lights flashed. A human officer ran inside, face pale. "Captain, incoming transmission." On the comm screen appeared the face of a rival empire, the same one that had destroyed the Rithen homeworld. The alien's voice was sharp and cruel. "Earth Council, you shelter the worthless. Return them to us at once. They are criminals. If you refuse, you will pay the price." Sarvan's blood ran cold. His people gasped. The very nightmare they had fled had found them again. The humans looked at each other, silent. Would they hand the refugees over to save themselves? Or would they fight for strangers? The answer was not yet clear. But one thing was certain. The Rithen could not run anymore. Their fate now rested in humanity's hands. The ultimatum from the rival empire echoed through the halls of the refugee ship. "Return them, or Earth will burn." The word spread like poison. Mothers held their children close. Elders whispered prayers. Some begged Sarvan to order surrender. "They only want us," one father said, tears in his eyes. "If we leave, the humans will be safe. We cannot drag them into our curse." Sarvan stood frozen. His heart was torn. He had led his people through darkness, but what if bringing them to humans only caused war? On the human side, Captain Reyes called his officers together. His voice was low, steady. "The Council will hesitate. They always do. But we are soldiers. We don't hesitate when innocent lives are threatened." His first officer frowned. "Sir, we cannot fight the Empire alone. Their fleet outnumbers ours 10-1. Reyes nodded. "That's true. But humanity has never won battles by numbers. We win by refusing to bow." The refugees soon learned of the human captain's decision. Sarvan tried to argue. "You should not risk your people for us. We are not worth it." Reyes stared at him, sharp eyes unflinching. "Do not say that again. Every life is worth it. That's why we are human." Those words cut deep into Sarvan's heart. For years, the galaxy had called them worthless. Now a human said they mattered, but still fear spread among the Rithen. Some even tried to sneak out, ready to surrender themselves to the Empire's ships. Reyes stopped them at the docking bay. He stood tall, blocking their way. "You think surrender will save lives? No, they will take you, and then they will come for us anyway. Bullies never stop when you kneel. They only stop when you stand." The refugees stared at him. He was smaller than many of their warriors had been, but his words carried more weight than an army. Slowly they stepped back, ashamed of their fear. Soon after, human fleets began to gather near Earth. Warships, carriers, and patrol craft assembled, not for conquest but for defense. Refugees watched from their windows, astonished at the sight. Humanity did not run. Humanity prepared to fight. On the human homeworld, people across cities and colonies heard the news. Instead of rejecting the Rithen, ordinary humans sent messages. "Stay strong. You are welcome here. They cannot take you from us." Farmers donated food. Engineers sent spare parts for the refugee ship. Children painted signs with the words, "You are safe with us." The Rithen wept as those messages arrived. For the first time in their history, strangers did not curse them, they embraced them. But the Empire did not wait. Their warships entered human space, massive cruisers casting shadows across the stars. Their commander sent another broadcast. "This is your final warning. Deliver the Rithen to us. If you resist, you will be destroyed." The Human Council hesitated. Some argued for surrender. "We cannot risk war against them. We must think of our colonies, our people." But Captain Reyes broke into the chamber. His voice shook the walls. "If we surrender them, then we are no better than the empires that rejected them. If we give them up, humanity's soul dies. We stand or we lose ourselves." Silence followed. And then, slowly, one by one, the councillors nodded. The decision was made. A message was sent to the Empire. "These refugees are under human protection. They are our responsibility. If you want them, you will have to go through us." The words spread like fire. Refugees gasped. Could it be true? Were they truly defended? The Empire laughed at the message, mocking the humans. Their fleets advanced, but on the human ships, crews prepared. Soldiers strapped into their stations. Pilots checked their fighters. Engineers whispered prayers as engines roared. And on the refugee ship, Sarvan gathered his people. He spoke with a voice that trembled but did not break. "Brothers, sisters, for the first time, we are not alone. We are not running. Humanity stands with us. Whatever comes, we will face it together." Children held their mothers' hands. Elders straightened their backs. They felt a spark of courage they had never known before. The stars outside burned brighter as fleets moved into position. On the human flagship, Captain Reyes stood before his crew. His eyes narrowed as enemy ships filled the horizon. "Remember," he said, "they fight with arrogance. We fight with purpose. Hold the line." The order was given. Human ships spread into formation, smaller and fewer, but ready. From the refugee windows, the Rhythms saw it, the beginning of a battle that would decide their fate. And for the first time, they did not feel like ghosts drifting through space. They felt alive because someone finally believed they were worth protecting. The first shots lit up the void, and the war for their future began. The stars exploded with light. Human ships darted across the void, firing bursts of energy and launching swarms of fighters. The Empire's fleet advanced like a wall of steel, massive cruisers glowing with deadly firepower. From the refugee ship, the Rhythm watched in silence. Every blast shook their hearts. Mothers covered their children's eyes. Elders whispered prayers. Sarvan stood at the front window, his hands trembling. He whispered, "They fight for us. They risk everything for us." On the human flagship Aurora, Captain Reyes barked orders. "Keep moving! Don't give them a straight target. Hit their supply ships first. Make them bleed slowly." Human ships were smaller, weaker, fewer, but they were fast. They moved like sparks across the dark, striking then vanishing before the Empire could lock them in. One Empire cruiser exploded, breaking apart into burning fragments. Refugees cheered. For a moment, they believed victory was possible. But the enemy pressed harder. More cruisers arrived. The human fleet was pushed back ship by ship. On the refugee vessel, panic spread. "They will lose," one elder cried. "They cannot hold forever." Sarvan clenched his fists. He wanted to help, but his people had no weapons, no armies. All they had was fear. Then a human officer contacted them. "Refugee vessel, listen carefully, stay calm. We will not abandon you." The words steadied their hearts. Back in the battle, the Aurora was struck. Sparks flew inside. Smoke filled the bridge. Reyes wiped blood from his forehead and kept shouting orders. "Target their command ship. If we cut off the head, the body will fall." Human fighters swarmed the massive Empire flagship. Dozens were lost, but they pressed on. Clever maneuvers, risky dives, brave sacrifices. Finally, one human pilot dove straight into the flagship's weak point, sacrificing himself as his ship exploded inside the enemy vessel. The Empire flagship split apart, flames tearing through its hull. The Empire fleet hesitated. Their wall of steel cracked. Reyes seized the moment. "Push forward! Show them humanity does not kneel." Human ships surged. One by one, enemy cruisers fell. The Empire, shocked by the resistance, began to retreat. On the refugee ship, cries of joy erupted. Children hugged their mothers. Elders wept openly. Sarvan sank to his knees, tears in his eyes. They fought, and they won. For us. When the last enemy ship vanished into the dark, silence filled space. Only the wreckage remained, glowing like falling stars. The battle was over. Humanity had stood firm. Humanity had protected them. Days later, the Rhythm were brought to Earth. The blue planet welcomed them with open skies and green fields. Refugees stepped onto real soil for the first time in years. They touched grass with trembling hands, smelled fresh air and wept. Children ran laughing across open meadows. Mothers built shelters with the help of human neighbors. Elders sat in the sun, warming their tired bones. A great ceremony was held in Earth's capital. The Human Council stood beside Captain Reyes. Sarvan walked forward, representing his people. His body shook, but his voice was clear. For generations, the galaxy rejected us. They called us worthless. They let us starve. They wanted us gone. But humanity gave us food. Humanity gave us hope. Humanity gave us a home. He bowed deeply, his voice breaking. "We are yours to protect, and we will stand with you always. You have shown us what no empire ever did, that compassion is stronger than power." The humans in the hall rose to their feet. They clapped, they cheered, and their voices carried across the chamber. Sarvan looked back at his people. They were smiling. For the first time, they were not refugees. They were citizens. They belonged. Later, Sarvan stood on a hill outside the city. Captain Reyes joined him. Together, they watched children from both races playing side by side. "Do you see? Reyes said softly. They don't care about old borders. They only see friends. Sarvan nodded, tears shining in his eyes. We thought we were broken, but you reminded us we are still alive. And that is enough. Reyes placed a hand on his shoulder. You're not just alive, you're part of us now, and no one will ever take that from you. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with gold. For the Rhythm, the long night was finally over. They had been rejected by the galaxy, but humanity had welcomed them home.